in 1 Timothy chapter 6, starting around, it's really around verse number 2. He's really going to talk about this idea of the corruption that begins in the leadership structure of the church. And he's going to talk about one thing that corrupts leadership in any church is money, the love of money, the love of power, the love, and it is something that Paul warns against in both 1 and 2 Timothy. And he starts out by saying, these are the things you are to teach and insist upon. And he's going to lay out this whole argument. And he's going to talk about how this leadership has to be a leadership of integrity, a leadership of honesty, and a leadership that is true to its calling. And he's going to, if you kind of read through that verse, and he's going to talk about in verse 4, they are conceited and understand nothing. And conceited means they're very arrogant. The pulpit, those who are in charge, teachers, are becoming very conceited. And really that simply means they start feeling themselves. And when you start feeling yourself as a leader, slash teacher, slash pastor, slash preacher, it starts eroding you from the inside out. Because you start feeling yourself. You feel a false sense of confidence, a false sense of pride, a false sense of arrogance. You start having a Messiah complex. And he says in verse 4, they're going to be conceited and understanding nothing. And they have an unhealthy interest in controversy. You see that? Unhealthy interest in controversy. In other words, I'm telling you, my brothers and sisters, it is important for the pastor, teacher, preacher to not get caught up in controversy. And controversy has nothing to do, and it really talks about unhealthy controversy. I'm talking about arguing and about things that really mean nothing in the big picture and in the final analysis. Just up talking and getting in. Because let me tell you, the Bible speaks for itself. You don't have to speak for the Bible. You just have to preach it. But you can make anything in the Bible controversial if you lift off the pages something that's not in there and give your own interpretation of that particular text, and it can become an unhealthy controversy in the church, or something that really can't be proven, but that causes more disorder than it does unity. And that's what's happening in our pulpits today in teaching and listening to some people teach what they teach. And so he's going to warn against that. And then he's going to talk about quarrels about words that result in envy, strife, malice, malicious talk, and evils, speculations, and all this kind of stuff, and create this friction and between people of corrupt minds and who have been robbed of the truth and who think that godliness means financial gain. I'm trying to explain to you before we get to the other one that you have to address what's going on in the pulpit, and you can't track the problems in the church to everything that's going on in the pew. And Paul is trying to explain to Timothy, it started in the pulpit because they abandoned the word of God, they abandoned the truth, they abandoned preaching Jesus Christ as the only way to salvation. And they became corrupt, they became ungodly, and they are more about unhealthy controversies that cause division. And see, one of the problems we have is we don't have a very educated pulpit anymore. And not only an educated pulpit anymore, Paul said to Timothy, study to show thyself approved, a workman need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. And so you got to be willing to dig into the truth, to find the truth, and to proclaim the truth. And so I'm just trying to give you some context. And he talks about you really redefine what it means to be godly. And see, listen to this last phrase he says, who think that godliness is a means to financial gain. To teach people the prosperity gospel that when you sow a seed, if you want something from God, you have to sow something financially, and all of your godliness is tied to your financial contributions, and you got to sow a seed, you got a covenant, a partner with, all these terms. That's what's got us in trouble in the 21st century. I'm going to get back to 2 Timothy, but he talks about this, and I'm telling you, it really has, listen to what he says, but godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and we shall take nothing. You see that?
Yes.
We brought nothing in.
Right.
If you were to inherit $1 million, and God were to give you $1 million, it still don't mean nothing. When you leave here, you can't take it with you.
No, no.
It is so ridiculous to tell people to invest everything in the right now, when everything materially that they possess in right now, they can't take it with them. When they are gone, it's still going to be here. And so he's trying to argue that point, and he's really going to use a couple of words in there, and I don't have time to really explain it to you. And then I'm going to skip to verse 10, because he's really talking about the leadership and how money has corrupted pastors, preachers, and teachers. And he says, for the love of money, you know that phrase,
Yes.
the love of money is the root of all kind of evil. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith. I'm trying to explain to you. He's talking about leadership. Pastors, preachers, and teachers have become so corrupted by money that they've wandered from the faith. It's all about the Benjamins. Y'all know that movie, don't play.
Yes, sir.
All about the Benjamins. That's what, okay, then you can understand the context in the verse I just told you, in the chapter I just told you, 2 Timothy chapter 3, 2 Timothy chapter 3, starting verse 1. Now you're going to see what is the result of the pulpit, pastors and teachers becoming corrupted by money. Now you're going to see the result of that. And he's going to say, but mark this, in the last days, terrible times, there will be terrible times in the last day. People will become lovers of themselves. Who do you love the most? The person sitting in the seat that you occupy. Lovers of themselves. And listen, I'm not talking about that there is no justification for self-love. You are supposed to love yourself. But in loving yourself, you have to consider loving other people. Because the only way you get love is to be loving. And if it's all about you, see, that's the problem with most people. You want to be loved, but you're not a loving person. You want to be loved, but you never show love. And how do you want to receive something that you don't give?
All right.
And listen, he says, people will become lovers of themselves, lovers of money. He's going to mention that because of this corruption on the top. Now it's going to filter down into people, the congregation, the world. You know, people love money above any and everything. It's probably one of the things that's driving everything. And I read one of my favorite books. It's called Essentialisms. It's learning to live with less. We can live with so much less than what we live with. We have a lot of amenities, a lot of things we could probably live without that we spend money on, both you and I. But you know what's driving crime in America? The love of money. You know what's driving envy between two people? The love of money. You got one or two problems. You ain't got enough of it, or you got too much of it. When I told you the love of money is the root of all evil, that's what he means. Two basic problems with money. You don't have enough of it, you'll try to steal it to get more of it. If you have too much of it, it can become a god. You see what I'm saying? That's what it means when it said the love of money is the root of all evil. Because if you don't have enough of it, you'll do crime and do criminal activity to get more of it. If you have too much of it, it can become your god.
All right.
And that is described by Paul, evil. The love of money causes people to be criminal. The love of money causes people to think that money is the most important thing in the world. You get what I'm saying? And so he puts that number 2 on the list, the love of money, and then boastful. And that is, people are just, they talk about I. You remember Nebuchadnezzar in the book of Daniel? God had to humble him because he said, look what I have done. Look what I have built. Listen, you are living on the grace of God.
That's right.
Because I'm going to tell you, one thing you cannot buy with your money is your life. You can buy a comfortable life. You can buy some of the comforts of life. But the one thing that's out of your hands is your days of life. Your days have been numbered.
Amen.
And only God controls how many days you're going to live on this earth. If Steve Jobs, with all the money he had, couldn't buy another day of life when pancreatic cancer came in and invaded his body, and he invented this thing, Apple phone. If all his money couldn't buy another day and a cure and keep him here another day, it ain't gonna keep you here another day, because you ain't had the money he got. You see what I'm saying? So to boast about it, and there are people all over the world. It's nothing wrong with enjoying and expressing a level of success for your achievements and your discipline. Nothing wrong with that. That's not what the Bible is talking about. But being boastful and proud and then abusive. And that word abusive is something I really want to talk about, because that is just being cruel to another individual for absolutely no reason. You are abusive because you are hateful in your heart. You project your anger. You subject all of your emotional trauma on somebody else, and you become abusive. You mistreat folk that you don't really know and ain't really done nothing to you, and you're just abusive in the way you talk to people, the way you treat people, the way you interact with people. You don't have to be that mean. Ain't nobody done nothing to you.
All right.
And we live in a society where people are abusive. They talk to each other any kind of way, treat each other any kind of way. People are not even compassionate anymore. The two things that we never ever used to bother is young people or children and old people. We had respect for those two groups because both of them were innocent victims and could be vulnerable at any moment. You would never mistreat a child, and you would never mistreat an old person. That's out the window now. People will disrespect somebody old and rob, steal, knock an old lady in the head for her purse. So abusive, so much hate. And then they mistreat children. And then disobedient to parents. Have you ever seen a time where children are the way they are? Boy, I ain't gonna get on my soapbox. But I'm telling you right now, I am not my children's friend. You do not talk to me any kind of way. And there are certain things you can't do in my house nor in my presence. Whatever decisions you make outside of this house and outside of my presence, that's up to you. But there are some lines you got to draw with your children.
Oh, yes.
Now, I don't care how y'all talk to each other, but you ain't finna talk to me like that. Now, as an adult, you still ain't gonna talk to me like that because I can remove myself from the situation. But let me tell you, once you get 24, I don't care if you really like me or invite me or come over. It don't really make me no difference. I'm not pacifying you for the rest of my life. And I think where we have gotten in America, the reason why children are so disobedient is because you only have a short window to get those children conformed to your form of discipline. If you let them get past 8, you might well wipe the calendar clean. You got to get the fear of God in them by the time they're 8, really by the time they're 3. And let them know who the boss is. 2 times the Bible says you honor your parents. When you're young and when they get old. Simple. You honor your parents when you are young and when they get old. And to honor your parents when they get old is not that you let them control your life. Because parents got to realize when their children get grown, your job has been done. You need to let them make whatever choices they're going to make. And don't give advice. Give counsel. Let them make whatever choices they want to make. That's their life, not yours. I tried to explain to a woman not too long ago. You too involved in your son and his fiance's life. You trying to run things. It ain't your wedding, and it ain't your husband. And it might be your son, but it's going to be her man, her fiance, and her husband. You ain't got their business. You get what I'm saying? So I'm just telling you, disobedient to parents. Now, I wanted to jump down to this one, ungrateful. Have you ever seen a time when people are so ungrateful? Ain't nobody in here got no business complaining about nothing. You have a good life. I don't care if you live in a one-room shack and you got a loaf of bread, a bottle of clean water, and you got a piece of meat to eat. You are living better than 99% of the people in the world. We're just too ungrateful in America now. And the reason why we're ungrateful because we're always looking at somebody else, the success of somebody else, the progress of somebody else. Just be grateful for what you have. And I'm just telling you, this is the year for me to be grateful to God because I'm thankful for everything I have. I ain't going to ask him for nothing this year. I'm just going to spend time being grateful. I'm still alive. I got my right mind. I'm healthy. What else do you want?
I hear you, baby.
Some of us are living on borrowed time because things have happened to us, sicknesses, accidents, diseases, and all kinds of things could have took us out. But we still here. Why don't you just tell God thank you? Don't ask him for nothing. Just be grateful. You done made it through what you've been through. Just tell him thank you this year. Quit being so ungrateful. And we never lived in a time where people were so ungrateful. And I ain't just talking about to God. I'm talking about to people who took care of us. People who try to help us. People who sow into our lives. We are so ungrateful. Be appreciative of every person God put in your life. Quit complaining so much. What people don't do and look at what they do. And you know what they do? They put up with your crazy self. So just be grateful and say thank you. If you don't do nothing for me, just thank you for putting up with me. I know I'm thankful for some folk who put up with my crazy, unpredictable, bipolar, schizophrenic, 5 personalities, moody self. If they don't give me nothing, just thank God. And I'm grateful that they put up with me day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And listen, you ain't that perfect not to be grateful for somebody putting up with your tail. Because you ain't the easiest person to get along with. And don't try to act like you got 50 friends that can put up with what I put up with. Could nobody put up with your crazy self? Ain't the truth what I'm saying? Just be grateful to God and to people. And then this third thing, be grateful for the opportunities that life affords you, because not everybody get the opportunities you have.
Amen. Tell the truth, baby.
You can't explain how you got where you are and have what you have, and how you got in some doors that you got in, and God has given you what He's given you over the years He's given it to you. But just think about it. You know, one of my favorite songs, millions didn't make it, but I'm one of the ones who did. I sing that song on a almost daily basis. And I'm grateful that I'm one of the ones who did. You know how many folks died of COVID? If you know somebody who died of COVID, raise your hand. You know somebody who died of COVID. Guess what? You did, and you're still here. Be grateful for that. Okay, half the folk in here retired. Now you know some folk that started out working with you, they ain't here today. They ain't got to live to see a time where they could retire and draw down some of the money that you drawing down. They ain't even here to draw it. Be grateful. Millions didn't make it, but you are one of the ones who did. You know folk who had heart attacks, and a heart attack took them out. You had a heart attack, you still here.
All right now. Tell it like it is, sweetie.
Be grateful
I know I'm grateful.
that you still here. I'm telling you, we live in a time where people are so ungrateful.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you, listen, I am at the place in the season of my life. Whenever I can wake up and stand on these 2 feet, I'm grateful.
Me too.
You know what it's
Yes.
what it's like to be able to stand up on your own 2 feet and with your own power. I'm grateful. And then not even that, when I can get up and feel the pain that I feel, I'm grateful just to be alive to feel it. Forget all this nonsense about complaining every day. I'm grateful to feel this pain. Boy, my shoulder killing me right now, bone against bone. I had icy cot, Bengay, heating pad, taking ibuprofen every day. Well, I'm glad to be able to feel some pain. I'm grateful to be, I don't care, listen, whatever.
Amen.
At least I'm alive. Ain't the truth what I'm saying?
You're alive. Feeling them pain.
And be grateful for just being alive.
Nah, you're talking in your right mind, baby.
You done won half the battle, you here.
See it live.
And I'm telling you, we live in a time where people are so ungrateful. And the word unholy, I don't even want to get too deep. Unholy, literally, they just, it's not even this idea of being something physical, but it's just unholy. People don't have any sacredness, and nothing is sacred to them anymore. Just unholy. I'm gonna give you 3 things that we have made unholy. Now y'all better get ready to ask some questions, because I know I'm finna bother you. 3 things that are unholy now that you don't even know that they are religious ceremony. One of them is a funeral. I don't even know how funerals got to where they are now.
Like a show.
It's terrible. It's like a Hollywood production. I mean, funeral is such a sacred time. And it's not for the dead, it's for the living. Because Solomon says, it's better for a man go to the house of mourning than the house of feasting. Because in the house of mourning, the first thing you do is reflect on your own mortality. One of these days, you're going to be laying in a box.
Amen.
You get what I'm saying? Funerals are no longer a sacred time, and we enter them reverently. I mean, we sing too long. It lasts too long. And we do too much.
Say it.
God, we do too much. Just ain't holy no more. I'm going to give you the second thing because I'm almost finished. Weddings are not holy anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the mess they do. It's a sacred time. It is a vow. It is a sacred ceremony. It is you coming before God in this company. It is a sacred time. It is a religious ceremony to where you're supposed to dress it down, not dress it up. Supposed to be sacred music, not secular music. You ain't supposed to dance down the aisle. You're supposed to come holy and reverently and humbly down the aisle. I don't care what you do at the reception. I'm talking about at the church.
All right.
Supposed to be some semblance of something holy. And Lord, I ain't even talk about the way we dress it, films and I ain't even talk about that stuff. I ain't even go down that street. I know one thing, it become unholy. And then the third area where we become unholy is church itself. I mean, I don't understand what we do. I talked about that last week. Church don't even look like church no more. From the music, to the staging, to the preaching, none of it. It don't even look like church. In most churches you go into, you can't tell the difference between the secular and the holy. I mean, just unholy. And then without love. I'm just telling you how people are going to be in the last days. Without love. We don't even know what that word is anymore. But love is still out there, and you can really still feel it and experience love. Now, there are three kinds of love. There's a love that you experience when you have a relationship with God. That love is an everlasting love. That love is a love that is eternal. God always loves you. Then there is what is called a platonic love, that I love Miss Jefferson. I love Miss Coburn. I love Mr. Sistrunk. That's the kind of love all of us should want, to love somebody outside of our family.
All right.
Supposed to love our family, that comes natural. But you also need platonic love. You got to be able to love somebody. You can't be so selfish that it's all about you, that you don't love somebody. And then there is romantic love. That's where all of us struggle. That's romantic love that meets your emotional, physical, and mental needs. Now, all of us struggling in that area. And you might not ever find it. But we all struggle in that area. There's three kinds of love. But people don't even see that anymore. No, they don't have it anymore. Then I'm going to get with this one, and I'm closing. Unforgiving. Good gracious. I mean, how long are you going to be mad?
Amen to that.
We're going to spend that time talking about this one because I want to make sure that nobody in here has an unforgiving spirit. Okay, homework assignment right quick. Think of somebody that you have not forgiven. That you have some animus, hatred, resentment toward. Just think of somebody. Sometimes you can look in your family. Sometimes you can look in your relationships. Sometimes you can look on your job. Sometimes you can look in your church. If it's anybody in your life that you have not forgiven, whether they are dead or alive, close or distant, you got to forgive everybody. You cannot have unforgiveness in your heart. Forgive us for our debts as we forgive our debtors. Your prayers will not be answered if you have an unforgiving heart. Don't sit up in here and act like you're so saved and you are holding on to unforgiveness. And to forgive somebody literally means they might not change. To forgive somebody means they might not do anything to deserve your forgiveness, for you to say, I forgive you. But see, the problem is, when you don't forgive, you don't move on. And when you don't move on, your life comes to a standstill. And when life comes to a standstill, you can't experience what God has ahead of you for you. Get over it. Move on. Love again. Live again. Don't be angry at nobody. Don't let anybody hang you up, hold you back because of unforgiveness. You can't be mad that long. No way you can be that mad that long. I don't care what anybody do to you. You got at some point, you got to move on. Move past it. Because you know what you'll do? You will imprison yourself with your own anger. Sometimes you have to forgive people who you can't confront, that you can't talk to. I can tell you why you are a person who is very unforgiving. It is because sometimes of hurt, mentally and emotionally, sometimes physically. You've been hurt. Sometimes you've been disappointed. Most of the times, it's because you feel abandoned. The person didn't meet your expectations. And you put everything into trying to have a reasonable relationship or an above reasonable relationship with them, and they didn't give it back to you. And you start feeling some kind of way. You can only blame people for so long, and then you have to take personal responsibility. You got to let it go. Because some people, they ain't going to do right even if you forgive them. Even if you give them a second chance, they ain't going to do right. They're going to take advantage of your second chance. See, because you got to decide whether you're going to stay or whether you're going to go. If you decide to stay, you got to determine what you can put up with and what you can't put up with. What you can live with and what you can't live with. But you got to forgive. And so you got to be unforgiving. I mean, you got to be forgiving, and you can't be unforgiving. And then slanderous, or this idea of just dirtying each other's names and reputations up. Now that's the thing I just bothered, and that's where we are now. When we can't win against a person and they defeat us in any area of our lives, the first thing we resort to is slander. Trying to dirty up your name and your reputation and bring reproach upon the name of somebody who I can't win against, and somebody who's defeated me in a certain area. And my perception is, because of my envy, you are better than I am. You've done something that I can't do, and you have something that I don't have. So therefore, in order to win, I got to dirty up your name. As a lawyer just opened up an office in Tupelo, and he has a new kind of practice that's different. And that is, you can sue anybody for anything they say on Facebook that's not true. That's all he specializes in. If you said something about me on Facebook and it wasn't true, I could go to him and sue you for slander, because you got to prove what you said is true. I ain't got to prove that it is true. You got to prove that I ain't got to prove that it ain't true. You the one got to prove it, because it's slander. We dirty up each other's names. And when you dirty somebody's name, you dirty their reputation. By speaking something that ain't true, you know it ain't true. And we live in that time. And then I'm without self-control. And we don't have it. Can I talk about this? And I'm fishing to let y'all ask questions. Without self-control, how many of you think you have self-control?
Depends on what it is. Self-control.
Now, everybody has a weakness or something. But self-control, okay, you think about 3 areas in your life. Okay, let's go down to 2. No, forget it. Let's go to 1. Where you think you have self-control. Where you can control your urges and your desire. Because I've defined to you many times before, lust is not a bad thing. Lust is a legitimate desire that God gave you to be attracted to a person of the opposite sex to get some of your physical needs met. So lust is not a bad thing. The minute you start lusting, we got some questions to ask you. Especially lusting for people of the opposite sex. You're supposed to have lust because lust is a legitimate desire. It becomes a problem when that lust is out of control and ain't got no leash on it. And it's running all over the neighborhood, sniffing at everything. Mm-hmm. You know what they call that? Mm-hmm. A dog in heat. Yeah. But self-control is to be able to tame that and lease it. Self-control literally means you can call yourself down or call yourself back or call yourself out of a situation. If you see it overtaking you, and I could really teach this about lust and self-control because it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of self-denial and saying to yourself no. And it takes, Sister Michelle, keeping yourself out of certain situations to keep yourself out of trouble.
Yes, sir.
Because you know what you're weak to. That's how you have self-control. Self-control is denying yourself of certain things that you like and enjoy. But the main vehicle for self-control is keeping yourself out of some situations. Gladys laughing. That's why you need to stay away from Chattanooga. Keep yourself out of some situations. That's what you got to do. That's self-control. You know. See, it talks about, can a man put fire to his bosom and not be burned? He's saying there's some places if you go, you're going to do what it is that you have no self-control over. And so the best thing to do is keep yourself out of that situation. Because you know you're not going to be able to control yourself. That's the number one way to gain self-control. Is keep yourself out of some situations and don't even put yourself in that situation to be tempted. Because you ain't that strong. You ain't that saved. You don't pray that much.
Sometimes, Pastor, you weak to a lot of things, man.
That's the point of self-control. Keep yourself out of situations so that you won't be weakened to give in. Okay, think about what your weakness is. Y'all know what it is. Don't be looking at me that hard.
Think about what your weakness is.
Let me tell you what weakness is. Weakness is something that becomes weak that people can take advantage of. They take advantage of and they can win over you. They can make you lose self-control. They can make you lay down your inhibitions and completely take advantage of you. See, there's some things I'm not going to put myself around and let it be around me because I know I'm weak to it. That's how I maintain self-control. And then there's some things about me I'm going to keep a leash on them. You know what a leash is? A dog. Especially that little leash that kind of can go way out, but then you can snap it, and it can only go so far. You got to set some rules for yourself.
All right.
What's the 3 rules you have for yourself? I got, 3 rules. I can give you 3. First of all, ask God to protect you from yourself. Rule number 1, God, protect me from myself because I am my worst enemy. If you didn't get yourself in trouble, most of the time you wouldn't get in any trouble, and you get yourself in more trouble than anybody around you could ever get you in. Rule number 1, ask God to keep me and protect me from myself. Ain't the truth what I'm saying? Protect me from myself, rule number 1. That's a prayer you need to pray every day. God, protect me from myself. When I wake up this morning, protect me from myself. That's what it means in that prayer when it says, lead me not into temptation, but deliver me from evil. Me. Protect me from myself. Today I woke up on Wednesday morning Lord, throughout this day, protect me from myself. Rule number 1, protect me from myself. Second rule, Lord, protect me from anybody that means me hurt, harm, or danger. Anybody. Lord, protect me from anybody that means me hurt, harm, or danger. Rule number 2, I'm just talking about this idea of self-control. Lord, protect me from anybody that means me hurt, harm, and danger. And listen, you're going to miss some opportunities you want, and some people you want, to go to some places you want, and the Lord ain't going to open that door, and he going to keep you from it, because that's what you asked him to do. And you're going to go home disappointed, because you asked him to protect you from anybody that means you any hurt, harm, or danger. And that means, Michael, even if you see her, she pretty, and you want her, you ain't going to be able to catch her in the grocery store. She going to get in the car before you ever get her number. The Lord was protecting you from hurt, harm, and danger. Make sure your check make it to the bank to pay your bills and not in that woman's pocketbook. I'm telling you, ask the Lord to protect you from hurt, harm, and danger. First rule, protect me from myself. Secondly, Lord, protect me from anybody that means me any hurt, harm, or danger. Rule number 2, very important. I pray these prayers every day. Lead me not into temptation, protect me from the evil one. And then, listen, this third rule, protect me from danger seen and unseen. Number 3, because some dangers are like land mines. They are buried under the ground. You can't even see them. And you don't know they're there till after you step on them. Protect me from danger seen and unseen. Rule number 3. Because see, you go out in life and you really don't be looking for dangers and landmines and things that are hurtful and harmful. And so you need somebody to look for you. Okay, let me give you this illustration. Have you ever been going somewhere and you want to be there on time and you got delayed? You couldn't find your shoe, you couldn't get your hair right, couldn't find the right clothes. Your mama called, your sister called, your best friend, and just holding you up, and you got so aggravated, I'm trying to go. And you get delayed for 30 minutes, and finally get in the car, drive down the road, and guess what? It's an accident.
Yes, sir.
And if you'd have been there 30 minutes
Yes, sir.
before you'd have been in that accident, that was God protecting you from danger seen. Sometimes a delay is God protecting you from what you don't know is out there to harm you. So many times y'all done seen that.
Yes, sir.
On the way from my grandson's birthday party Sunday in Nelton, was raining really hard. I saw 5 cars that were in accidents because of the rain. And I wanted to leave early because I was tired. I was ready to go home. And I ain't no kid in the first place. I know he's my grandson, but I don't want to be him. This long anyway. I want to drop my gift out and get back in my car. And I just kept getting delayed. And every time I got ready to leave, somebody else knew showed, hey, got ready to go. Somebody, hey, take a picture. Hey. 2 hours later, by the time I got back on 45 on my way home, there were 5 accidents. Either one of them could have been me. He protects you from danger seen and unseen. I'm going to give you this one. I'm going to pick back on Michael again. The first time, you better thank God she got in that car. And then secondly, from danger seen and unseen, then you didn't get to talk to her, but you know somebody who did. And then he up at the hospital crying to you, man, I wish I never would have met that woman.
You think it's a curse, but it's a blessing.
It's a blessing. Man, that woman driving me crazy. Every day she asking me for money, this, that, and the other. You see somebody else with her? That the Lord protected you from danger seen and unseen.
Yes, sir.
You better thank God that you didn't get what it is you wanted, that God kept you from getting. He can see dangers seen and unseen. And I'm telling you, that's a rule. You need to pray that every day.
All right.
And the older you get, elderly people, you need to ask God every day to protect you from danger, seen and unseen. Because I tell you right now, everybody wants your money. That's why you get all them telemarketers calls all day.
Sure did.
Trying to get your money. And you need to make sure that you ask God to protect you from, and people will take advantage of you, young people that you know, your family, your grandchildren. They'll take advantage, they want your money. So you need to ask God to make sure, vet that stuff for you. Lord, before you let it get to me, protect me from danger seen and unseen. Because sometimes people walk up to you and steal money right out of your hand. And sometimes they do it through deception and deceit. And they can befriend you, and their heart and motive ain't right. Am I making sense to y'all?
Yes.
You got to be careful. So the 3 rules: Lord, protect me from myself. Lord, protect me from anybody that means me hurt, harm, or danger. And the rule number 3, Lord, protect me from danger seen and unseen. I guarantee you, everybody in here happy right now. Yeah, you happy.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something.